Okay, so welcome parents. We're going to go ahead and get started with our 0 to 3 new parent orientation. But before we get started, I'm just asking if parents can mute their microphone. There is a chat option, and so as we're going through our slides, I'd ask that you go ahead and just write in any questions you might have in the chat box, because we might be getting to them at another slide. Then at the end of the orientation, when we get to questions, we will go back and address your questions through the chat option. My name is Sarah Garland. I am the principal here at College Heights. And there are 3 other people here on this orientation that I would like to introduce you to. Dr. Carla Zizek is our instructional coach. Loyola Poindexter is our school nurse. And Yara Haddad is our PTO president. So I'm going to get started. I'm going to let Yara talk a little bit about our school's PTO and some of the great things that the PTO does to support the school and fundraising efforts. So Yara, I'm going to go ahead and pass this on to you.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. As Sarah mentioned, my name is Yara, and I will serve as the PTO president this year. This is our family's 4th year at College Heights. I have a rising pre-K student and a new baby that will start in the infant room. And I also had an older kid that graduated from College Heights that is at Winona Park now. So as you can see, the PTO board is almost fully formed. We have Mallory and Kelly serving as vice presidents, Jeff as treasurer, Shelly as secretary, and then Catherine and Mercy as auction co-chairs. We are still looking to fill a number of key roles on the PTO, and this is a great way for you to get involved, learn about the school community, and learn about the PTO. We are looking for a garden chair and a Read to Me-a-thon chair, and possibly another auction chair too. And I'll talk about what these roles are in detail. If you are interested, just connect with me and I'll let you know what the roles entail. So you can find a lot more detailed information about the PTO on our website, and it's collegeheightspto.org, all spelled out. From what we've done in the past, the PTO has 2 main roles. One is building community and social events, and the other one is fundraising. And with the money that we raise throughout the year, we use that money to fund a number of programs at the school, extracurricular activities for the students, for the 0 to 3 program, but also for the pre-K program. And so we really depend on parents to help fund these programs as well. The PTO will fund the school music program, the gardening program, which is in association with the Oakhurst Community Garden, and then staff professional learning, staff appreciation week, and then any kind of items and materials and resources that the school needs for supplemental classroom and playground materials. So like I mentioned, our events kind of loop around social events and fundraising, and we do hope to continue some of these events, some of our staple events next year, but we do recognize that the year may look a little different with the circumstances. What we've done in the past is have a fall event and a winter event, and those are PTO sponsored for the parents to come and enjoy and meet other parents and have children meet other children outside of classroom time. Our biggest fundraiser is the Read to Me-a-thon in October, which will coincide with Literacy Week as well. And it's just like a read-a-thon, but you count the minutes that the parent reads to the child. And then the silent auction is our biggest fundraiser, which helps us fund a lot of the programs that I mentioned earlier, and that happens around February or March. A teacher appreciation week in the spring, and then quarterly dine-outs and school spirit wear that is also coordinated by the PTO. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have for me about the PTO, about serving on the PTO, getting involved as a volunteer, or any other questions that you may have. My contact information and contact information for all of the officers is on the PTO website, and that is collegeheightspto.org. Thanks, everyone. I'll pass it back on to you, Sarah.
Thank you, Yara. Okay, so here at College Heights, this is our school mission for all of our students, infants through pre-K. College Heights Early Childhood Learning Center cultivates an atmosphere where children take their first steps in building an authentic love of learning through developmentally appropriate practices and an environment that fosters family and community involvement. Our school mission really is what drives everything that we do here. It drives our school improvement plan. It drives how we look at professional learning, how we look at equity. So I think it's really important that parents are aware that, one, that we do have a school mission, and number two, that they have a buy-in and understanding of what we're doing here at College Heights and why we do what we do. Okay, so I know many of you have many questions around COVID planning and what we're going to be doing when we open to keep our students and staff safe. We have been open, so many of you on this call are current parents who have been at College Heights this summer. We have been open since June 15th, and so we do have a COVID operation plan in place that we have been adhering to. But just kind of one disclosure, as you know, with COVID, so many things are just fluid. And so we are constantly, as a district and as a school, monitoring the situation and the trends in the county and community around COVID cases and COVID exposure. And so we just ask, keeping in mind as we go through our PowerPoint presentation today, that we are just based on the pandemic, having to be very flexible and fluid with our operations plan. We can be communicating, as we get information, data, and we're having to change things, we will definitely be communicating those to parents and giving parents heads up. But I just ask, and remind parents that we are having to be very fluid in our 0 to 3 program and pre-K program based on what's going on in our county and community around the COVID. Okay, so with that in mind, keeping COVID and concerns and mitigation strategies and safety in mind, we will have 2 different phases. And what we're currently operating in now while we're open is a phase 1. As kind of a background, all of our plans and operations, none of it's made in isolation. And so all of the plans get filtered through district leadership. It gets filtered through the assistant superintendent, the superintendent, the lead medical team from the district. So it includes our school nurse and our district lead nurse. The district also has their own advisory council when it comes to COVID planning. And so all the decisions and plans that we make here at College Heights are filtered through district leadership for their approval and their feedback and their advice. We are currently in a phase 1 here at College Heights. We have been since June 13th, and we continue to be in phase 1. And phase 1 is all around mitigation strategies and an operation plan put into place because there is significant mitigation in the county. So when we're looking at county spikes, community spikes, we will be modifying our operations according to what's going on in the area. So right now at school, and we are doing daily temp checks of students and staff. We are not allowing any visitors or adults access to the building. And so in phase 1, parents are dropping off and picking up from the front porch. We have a modified operating schedule. So right now the hours are 7:30 to 3:30. And the reason we're having to do that is because since we're not allowing parents to access the building and keeping staff and students safe, we're having to have essentially one staff member stays in the classroom, and there's another staff member that's basically the runner for that classroom. That runner is the staff member that greets the parent and students at the front porch, gathers the students and his or her belongings, and then escorts the student to their classroom. And it's a similar process in the afternoon. So in phase 1 operation plan, in the afternoon, the parents call the school when they're arriving to campus. Let us know that you're here to pick up your child. We call down to that classroom, and then that runner will wash the child's hands, gather the child's belongings, and then will escort the child back to the front porch for dismissal. So these are some plans that we have put in place for phase 1. And the big part of that is we're just not allowing any access to the school except for children and for staff. Also, some mitigation strategies in phase 1. We've added extra hand washing times within the daily schedule. We have added a weekly deep disinfecting. So every Friday, our custodians and the maintenance department from the district sanitizes the whole entire building with a 360 machine. It's a 360 Clorox kind of bleach solution that they spray down the building, and it's air dried over the weekend. That happens every week. And then, of course, throughout the day, high touch surfaces are sanitized by custodians and staff, as well as the playground is also sanitized in between each use. As we move to phase 2, so what we will be doing is really aligning ourselves to what the pre-K through 12 will be doing with their plans. So the school board tonight actually is voting on the learning format for pre-K through 12. The time frame for that is that once they put a plan into place, they will reassess that plan on September 17th. So it's essentially every 9 weeks, they will reassess what kind of learning platform they're going to do. Here for our 0 to 3 program, we're going to align ourselves to that same schedule. So we may be starting off in phase 1, where we are really limiting the access of the building, not allowing parents or visitors in. And then we will also reevaluate, just like the pre-K through 12 does, we will reevaluate September 17th on whether or not the trend and the data within the county and community will allow us to move to phase 2. The biggest difference between phase 1 and phase 2 is that phase 2, we will allow parents to access the building, and they will then be allowed to drop their child off at the classroom door. We still will not allow parents inside the classroom, but we will allow them into the building. The other big difference with phase 2 is that we will no longer be doing student temp checks. Instead, we will be doing random temp checks by the nurse throughout the day, but we will no longer be doing the health screening. So there's 2 big strategies that are going to be different between phases 1 and 2. As of right now, the plan is for us to open up August 4th in phase 1, which means that we will not be allowing parents and visitors access into the building. Therefore, the operating hours will be 7 to 3:30 in phase 1.
Okay, so this is Carla, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some of the classroom strategies that we're going to be doing to help mitigate the spread. So first of all, our classes are going to be split into 2 consistent groups, so that if there's something that is an activity where maybe physical proximity is hard to maintain, they'll be in a smaller number. And so they'll kind of have like a little group A and a group B in their own classroom. And then that way, maybe one group does circle time where children are, a little nearer to each other, and then the other group is outside. And also, if there are empty classrooms, should it be the choice that pre-K is done virtually, which we don't know yet, then we will be able to spread out, particularly in our 3-year-old classrooms that have 18 children, we'll be able to spread those classrooms out in some of the empty classrooms that we have. And so basically the lead and the assistant will be assigned to cohorts of children in their class. And then, of course, the lead teacher is still responsible for writing all of the lesson plans and making sure that they're delivered well and that assessment data is collected. It's going to definitely be a joint effort. And it'll be more like at times during the day, the groups will divide, and then other times they'll be all together again. So I just wanted to let you know that really our goal is to to have sort of set cohorts in the classroom for the children, so that even though they will be able to be with their whole class and with their friends, it will reduce the amount of closer contact. Like say they're doing a small group lesson, it's always going to be with the same kids instead of mixing it up like we would normally want to do. So you're also probably wondering, what happens if the school is to temporarily shut down? Well, we have plans in place, and unfortunately, we have experienced being closed. And so one of the things that we've learned from providing virtual activities for children to do is that really the things we're going to offer you are going to be things that parents can implement at home very easily. Some of the feedback we got about virtual learning was that children really loved having videos of their teachers doing a story time or doing small group time. So we're really going to encourage that. Some of them will be pre-recorded, some will be live, and we'll offer those to you to use as you choose from home. And then also teachers are going to be creating take-home kits that will have whatever materials you need to do various activities. So it'd be like a week's worth of different activities with descriptions of how you could use the materials in the box along with the materials. And you could come up to school, just grab the box and have that for the week, something to do with your child to help promote their development. And in addition, teachers will be doing one-on-one check-ins with you, the parents, to talk about how their child is doing and how they can support you with their learning and their goals and making progress. So, you know, it's not always perfect to have virtual learning. Obviously, for our youngest children, it's not ideal, but there are things that we can do and offer you that I think you'll find valuable, and that we've, you know, really started to develop plans for, especially having been through it before in the spring. So let me talk to you a little bit about our instruction. So if you're new to College Heights, what you need to know is that we follow the Georgia Early Learning and Development Standards, the GELDs, we call them. So the GELDs have these different domains, as you can see: cognitive, communication, language and literacy, physical development and motor skills, social and emotional development, and approaches to play and learning. And essentially in each of these domains, there's a progression of standards with different activities that help promote those standards, as well as ways that we progress monitor children's development on those standards. So these standards really do align with the K-12 standards that you'll become familiar with if you don't have older children. You'll learn about those when they start elementary school and pre-K. So let me tell you a little bit about our curriculum. For language and literacy, we've actually just recently adopted a new curriculum called High Scope. I'm very excited about it. It really lets teachers develop units of inquiry around authentic literature. We do lots and lots of story time and lots of ways for kids to engage with meaningful, authentic literature in the classroom. And we have also been working hard to be really relevant, culturally relevant in the text that we select for our children to be exposed to. So we really try to curate really a collection of books that we think are purposeful and meaningful, and also fun and exciting for kids and appropriate. We also use something called balanced literacy. Did someone say something? Okay. We also use something called balanced literacy, which is really just having various components throughout the literacy times during the day. So teachers are learning about how to incorporate phonological awareness into their classrooms, how to do interactive story reads, how to expose children to print and that kind of thing as they grow. For math, we use Montessori math. You'll see when you're back in the classrooms at some point, you'll see we have a lot of Montessori materials and manipulatives in the classroom. So teachers are really focused on teaching those concepts like number, quantity, and size, and comparing things that are same and different. It's amazing to see children as young as 6 months understand more and less, these very basic conceptual understandings of quantity. And we really do lots of inquiry-based learning. Our entire district has an inquiry focus. So at the K2s, they're doing expeditionary learning. And then after 3rd grade and on, they're doing International Baccalaureate. And those are all inquiry-based programs and frameworks where really we're encouraging children to ask questions and then find answers. So we might have some kind of question about something they've seen in nature. Maybe they're wondering about why did this leaf fall on the ground? And then the teacher is guiding them through an experience where they're trying to understand and make sense of the world around them. Another important component of our curriculum is conscious discipline, and that is our social emotional focus. It's really more of a philosophy and mindset than an actual curriculum, but we really do use that, and I'll talk to you a little bit about that on the next slide. So part of conscious discipline is what we call building the school family. So the whole idea is that our classroom at school is a family, and then you have even a larger family of all the kids and all the teachers and all the parents as our school family. So you are all now in the school family as well. And typically that lasts for the first 6 weeks, but we are going to be extending that. I think some children who might have been home for an extended period of time or had maybe a very unstructured day, or any of these different circumstances that families have been placed in, we really want to spend a lot of time helping kids reconnect, helping them build community, getting them involved in routines and rituals. Conscious discipline is based on respecting the child, helping them identify and name and work through their emotions and offer them guidance. The idea is really that when a child has a behavior that we're maybe not as thrilled about, it's a form of communication. And it's them telling us that there's some kind of social emotional skill that they're still developing and that they need our help to learn. And so we also offer a parent workshop series. We'll be doing it virtually this year. And if you're interested in conscious discipline, the author of, she's a PhD in psychology. Her name is Becky Bailey, and she offers amazing books and videos and resources all about how to do this conscious discipline in your home. And we really follow it at school. Our teachers actually all just took a very extensive training as part of some of the work they did during our closure on conscious discipline. So I'm very excited about them being able to implement their new learning even more than we have in the past. We've been using this approach for about 10 years. And one thing I did want to say that I always like to say at orientation is now's a really good time to develop a goodbye ritual with your child. So if if you're anticipating that your child might have some stress when they separate from you, now's a very good time to go ahead and start practicing with a ritual. Rituals help children feel safe. They help them connect and they help them calm. So maybe it's 2 fist bumps and an air kiss. Maybe it's I love you more, I love you the most. I don't know what it is, but you come up with that with your child and you do it every time you say goodbye. And then when you see them again, you can also have a different ritual for that too. But these rituals are very powerful for children, and our teachers use them in the classroom as well. Here's just a sample of some of the different elements of the day for a classroom. We always have a morning meeting and story time. They have work time and small groups. And by work time, we mean independent play and exploration. So children are able to move about the room at will and investigate the different materials as they've been taught how to use them. And so they have always uninterrupted free choice play and work time. That really is their work, isn't it? And also lots of singing and dancing. We do have a way of teaching phonological awareness, words, sounds, letters, all of those kinds of things through songs, wordplay, and language. And then we do have that Montessori piece for cognitive learning, which is the math and just spatial awareness and geometry. All of that helps with all of that is taught through Montessori. That we have outdoor time every day, rest time, and specials. Some of this, as you probably just figured out, is not really happening as it normally would, because, like, for instance, our specials, some of those are things where we have outside people coming in, and so those might not be quite the same, at least not in the first beginning part of school. And then infants, in terms of their schedule, they have their own schedule, and that is that they are infants and they have a different plan. So really, we're following their lead there. They do have an individualized nap time, and we ask that parents update their nap and feeding plan every 30 days, and so the teacher can match to what the infant needs. And then as the year progresses and the children get a little older, then we do start to have some more consistent nap times across the classroom in our youngest room, but really we just follow what they are doing. So you might be wondering, how do we assess children this young? Well, we use something called the Preschool Evaluation Scale. And so this is an observational scale that teachers in the classroom complete. They are looking at gross and fine motor, cognitive, expressive language, social emotional skills, and self-help skills. And so this is a way for us to monitor your child's development. We would let you know right away if we have any red flags or concerns. And it's also helpful for us to decide where they need to go next, right? So that we can tailor their lessons, their small group, their instruction to where they are right now and where they need to go next. So you'll also have the opportunity to meet with your teacher in winter and spring, and he or she will share with you your child's developmental profile, which is really just a narrative report about how your child is doing in the different domains and on the GELDs that have been taught during the school year. Okay, Sarah, I think this one is you.
Thank you, Carla. So we have a process in the school district called RTI MTSS, and RTI is response to intervention, and it's a multi-tiered support system. And this system is put into place for students who, based on either teacher observation or assessment data, is showing some challenges or difficulties in any developmental area. So we have a process where the team, an RTI team, comes together. The RTI team is comprised of the principal, the instructional coach, the general education teachers, the speech and language therapists, and special education teachers. And we come together and we look at what challenges the child is experiencing and how can we develop specific interventions for the classroom to support those student challenges and meet that child where he or she is. It's based on data, so we will create an intervention for 6 to 8 weeks. The teacher will collect data on the specific interventions, and we're monitoring the progress towards that goal. It's just a way to provide extra support for students. We understand that students develop at all different levels, but if there are any kind of red flags, or even if a student might be seeing red flags in a toddler classroom. Sometimes we see toddlers who are having some challenges around language. We see behavior challenges, we see sensory challenges, but it's something that just that child may need some extra support. So we just want to make sure that parents are aware that that is the process. If a teacher is concerned, we loop the parents in first to talk about the concerns and work with the parent. The parent is a part of the RTI process, and we will keep we will keep communication to the parents about the strategies, the progress towards the strategies, and what the parent can do to support the strategies at home. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about arrival and dismissal plans for both phase 1 and 2. As we mentioned earlier, we will begin the school year on August 4th in a phase 1. We've been doing phase 1 since June 13th. I will say that these strategies are working. You know, yeah, it's not ideal to have an abbreviated day. You know, we're typically open till 6, and as we move into phase 2, we'll be able to be open until 6. But right now, with the trend and the data showing that cases are spiking, we do feel that we need to remain in phase 1. I will say that we're one of the few programs that has been able to stay open, has not had to temporarily shut down because of a case. And so we do feel like what we're doing right now is working. With arrival and dismissal, and there's signage outside the school, so you will have signs to help you through, and staff will be out there helping you through the process. But parents and children will arrive to the front porch using the handicap ramp. And once you arrive, you'll have ground markers. So we will be practice social distancing using the ground marker. So please be mindful of staying 6 feet away from the person ahead or in back of you. It's a quick process. As parents and children enter the front porch, we will ask a series of questions of the parents, health screening questions, which Nurse Lola will talk about in a minute, and we will take the student temperature. If the student has a temperature of 100 or higher, we will not allow the student to enter the building. But if the temperature is okay and the health assessment's okay, then we will call the staff, the runner for that classroom, and that runner will escort the student to their classroom. For dismissal in phase 1, we are asking that parents, Carla, can you go to the next slide? We're asking that parents call the school, so go ahead and put the school number into your cell phone as you're arriving to campus to let us know you're here to pick up, and we will bring that child to you. Again, you will always enter on the ramp, and you will exit going down the front steps. For arrival and dismissal in phase 2, so this is the one we're opening up the building to parents. We are looking at different mitigation strategies. Same process, parents and children will enter using the ramp. There will not be a staff member stopping you at the front. You'll be able to come right into the building. Parents will get a stop at the front, get a visitor sticker, so we know we're still monitoring who is in the building. For the first few weeks until we get to really know faces, you may be asked to show your ID when you're picking up, but you'll grab a sticker and you will go ahead and escort your child to his or her classroom. There will also be ground markers in front of the classroom, so you'll wait on the ground marker until it's your turn to get to the classroom door. The teacher or assistant will greet you and your student at the door, and that's when they'll begin their day. As for dismissal, we are asking a similar process. Parents come in, grab a visitor sticker, will go to the classroom to get their child, and they will escort their child to the front and exit down the front steps. Every time a parent or an adult or a visitor comes to campus, we are asking that you wear a mask. So we are not requiring masks of students, of our 0 to 3 students. We will talk about masks in a minute, but we are requiring that all parents are wearing masks. So as we move to phase 2 and you're allowed to enter the building, you will not be allowed to enter the building unless you have a mask. Okay, I think we went over this one. Okay, Preschool Chex Mix. I'm hoping that all of you have received your classroom placement letter. If you have not, please email me so that I can get that to you. So with our preschool, there is one classroom, Miss Jasmine Fail, her last name is Fail, F-A-I-L. She is here with our partnership with Head Start. So we have a collaboration with Head Start, and Head Start is a federally funded program that offers services through students who meet certain income eligibility criteria. We have 17 slots for our preschool Head Start. We have an early Head Start, which is toddlers, and we have 8 spots for early Head Start. And then we have 20 pre-K Head Start spots. So we are very fortunate to be able to provide 47 families services through our Head Start partnership. With our partnership, we also get a teacher, Miss Jasmine, and an assistant, Miss Denise. They are lovely teachers. Basically we feel like they're CSD teachers. They participate in all the professional learning. They have the same degrees in early childhood education, same level as all the teachers that we have. They just happen to be paid through Head Start. However, with that, they are on the pre-K-12 calendar. And so Miss Denise and Miss Jasmine work a 190-day calendar. So in the past, we have had children participate in a Chex Mix program. So it's kind of like after school for preschoolers in that particular classroom. So in the past, we have had, when the Head Start students leave at 2:30, the tuition-paying preschoolers from Miss Jasmine's class would go into the other 3 preschool classrooms, and they would spend their day in that Chex Mix classroom from 2:30 to 6. I've received many concerns about this process, and I agree. We are in this COVID concern. We are doing everything we can not to mix children and not mix groups. So I am committed to finding a solution for this Chex Mix. I have reached out to staff support. I've reached out to the assistant superintendent to try to find funding so that I can find a teacher that will be like the preschool Chex Mix after school teacher, and those students will be able to remain in their classroom and not mix into the other 3 classrooms. I have not been able to actually find the person. I have to interview for this person first. But I will let parents know in Miss Jasmine's class the final solution, but I will just say I am committed to finding a solution so that we will not have to be mixing the tuition paying students from Miss Jasmine's class into the other 3 preschool classrooms. I want to stop right here and see if there's any questions about Chex Mix, because I feel it's a really important part of our conversation and that everyone has a clear understanding of this before we move forward. Are there any questions around the preschool Chex Mix?
Hi, Sarah. This is Lindsay Kim. I just want to thank you guys for this and being so transparent and honest about everything that you're doing to open the school up. We're super excited to join the College Heights family. I do have a question to follow up on that. So appreciate everything you're doing to try and keep cohorts separated. So if you said you're going to do interviews, so does that mean by school opening that there will be a solution in hand, or will we get another communication letting us know that we have a temporary solution and this is what's going to be working right now, or that Chex Mix will be implemented? I guess I'm trying to figure out, will Chex Mix be implemented if you can't find a temporary to permanent solution by the time school opens, or the commitment is that we are going to find some type of solution and try to implement that when school opens? Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great question. No, you have my commitment that we will have a solution. So August 4th, you will start off with, you will not having to mix your children into other preschool classrooms. I just had to get on my end, get the person interviewed and hired. And I have already interviewed for after school program, which is the same hours. And so I already have a pool of people I can choose from. So I don't think should be a long process to identify that person. But I still will be sending an additional communication introducing you to that person. But you do have a commitment that we will not be mixing those children in that classroom.
Thank you so much.
And Lindsay, did that address your other question? I think you asked if children would be cohorted, and yes, they won't. And also, and in addition, I don't think I was clear, when they're at recess or on the playground, it's only 1 class at a time. So and then we sanitize the equipment between the classes. So never are different classes coming together. So hopefully
yes.
That's your question. Okay.
Yes, Carla, that answered my question. I can just have one more follow-up just so I understand. So you all said you'd reevaluate the situation on the pre-K 12 calendar on September 17th. Does that mean that phase 1 will last at least through September 17th, or could it change to phase 2 at any time between now and September 17th?
It will last through September 17th. We are aligning ourselves with whatever pre-K 12 decision timeline they have, and that is their timeline. So then the September school board meeting is September 17th. And so at that point, a decision will be made for pre-K through 12 of what model will be the next kind of semester. And so we will make a decision on the 17th, communicate that to parents, and that decision will be started on the 24th. So if we happen to move to phase 2, we would start phase 2 on September 24th. And if we decide to stay in 1 due to data, then we will continue that September 24th. So we will communicate that you will have a week to be able to plan for that. Okay, great questions. Okay, a little bit about nutrition. So within your tuition, breakfast, lunch, and snack are all included. The school menu is posted on the district website at the beginning of each month. And so you can look through the school menu to make sure that whatever we're serving your child will eat. There's always a vegetarian option for each student as well. And we also take into consideration any kind of food allergies. We are a nut-free school. And so that included in that is that we do not allow any almond milk. So if your student is an almond milk drinker, we will have to have an alternative to that. The infant feeding plan. So the parents of infants, until the infant is eating table food, the parents will provide their food. Once the teacher will collaborate with the parent when the parent's ready for that child to start eating table food and eating off the school menu, we will start providing lunch and breakfast and snack for that infant. Just kind of on a side note, the 0 to 3 menu looks very different than pre-K through 12. And so it does take into account accommodations, for students at this young age. And so we do have a director, a school nutrition director, a district nutrition director, Tiffany Lawrence, as well as a health nutrition menu planner. And she's just in charge of planning menus for the whole entire district. So a little bit of a different change. So we are now eating all meals in the classroom. In the past, and if you're a current parent that has been here for years and years, we've always had our toddlers and our preschoolers eat breakfast in the cafeteria, and we've always had our preschoolers eat lunch in the cafeteria. Well, we're going to be changing that up this year because we just don't want to have any shared spaces right now. And so they will be delivered their meals to the classroom, and they will be eating in the classroom. We do ask that if your student has any kind of food allergies, that you will let the teacher know during meet and greet so we can make sure that we are accommodating those allergies. Okay, I'm going to let Nurse Lola talk a little bit about health and safety.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nurse Lola, for those who I have not met. I've been with CSD full-time for the past 5 years. I started out working both at College Heights and Winona Park, splitting my time between the two schools, and have been solely at College Heights for the past 2 years. I also have a son who graduated from DHS in 2018. I just wanted to start off by saying how appreciative we are that you've chosen to entrust us with the safety, well-being, and education of your children. We do not take this responsibility lightly. I want to reiterate some of the things that Sarah mentioned regarding the health and safety measures related to COVID that are being discussed today are fluid and subject to change as the COVID-19 situation changes within our state and our communities. I will be briefly going over some key health and safety topics related to student health and wellness. They will be explained more fully in our College Heights Parent Handbook that will be going out to you. So I'm going to start with the health information forms. These forms will be sent out the first week of school and should be returned to me as soon as possible within the first 2 weeks. These forms capture pertinent health information, such as if your child has any special health needs, for example, life-threatening allergies, asthma, seizure, things of that nature. If your child does have a special health need, an action plan will be required and needs to be completed by your child's pediatrician and returned to me, along with any required medications. All medications that are administered here, including over-the-counter drugs, must accompany a physician's prescription and with instructions in your child's name on them. Additionally, a medication release form must be signed by the parent prior to medication being administered. Here at College Heights, we do not carry any over-the-counter stock meds at all. All medications that are administered must come from home. Any over-the-counter medications that you do send in must be unopened and in an original container. Immunizations. Current immunization records, Form 3231s, must be submitted prior to the start of school. All children without 3231s, current 3231s, will be dismissed after 45 days. If needed, parents can also obtain a Form 2208, that is the religious objection to immunization form for religious exemption requests. Sunscreen and bug spray. Parents must supply these external preparations and complete a permission form to have these preparations applied. Water bottles. Each student should bring in his or her own water bottle, clearly marked with the student's name every day. Clinic visits. If your child visits the clinic, you will receive either a phone call or email from me, depending upon the severity of the issue. For very minor cuts or abrasions, you may or may not hear anything from me, but for anything severe, you definitely will hear from me right away. If your child needs to be picked up, your student needs to be picked up within 1 hour of notification. Any student presented in the clinic with a fever of 100 degrees or higher will be sent home. However, if your child does not have a fever but is unable to benefit from being in school or just appears unwell or uncomfortable, he or she may still be required to be picked up. Safety drills. We have safety drills that are conducted monthly throughout the school year and include fire, tornado, and lockdown drills. We also have a district-wide safety plan for other emergencies. All entrances, all doors are locked throughout the day. We also have, as Sarah mentioned, additional hand washing times that have been added to our schedule to help mitigate the spread of germs. You can change it now, Sarah. Carla. Okay. All staff are required to wear face masks. All parents are required to wear face masks. The CDC recommends children 2 and older wear face masks. We fully support any parent who wishes for their child to wear a face mask. I saw a question in the chat. A parent asked that. We fully support. If you want your child to wear a face mask, just communicate that to the teacher and your wishes will be met. However, the students are not being required to wear them during nap time and during outdoor play time. And you must provide the mask. Okay, can you change it? Thank you. So here's some good YouTube videos that are a really good resource to go over face masks with your student to get them familiar with it if they're not already doing it. I went over that. Okay, so this is our updated sick policy related to COVID. If your child becomes sick at school, develops a fever, a cough, your child will be sent home. Your child will be required to stay home for at least 72 hours without the use of fever-reducing medications. Upon return, your child must have a medical clearance. If your child presents with COVID-19 related symptoms, your child may return after completion of these 3 criteria. 14 days have passed since the first symptoms appeared. No fever for 72 hours, that's 3 full days. And a reduction in the cold-like symptoms, such as cough, runny nose, sore throat. We're happy to work collaboratively with you and your healthcare team and our school team. However, the final decisions for student return will be made by the administration and our school health team. Okay, so again, like I stated, if I call you related to this, your child must be picked up within the hour. If we cannot get in contact with you, your emergency contact will be notified. And while your child is waiting, we have a isolation clinic, and your child will be accompanied by an adult until pickup. I went over that. No, okay. No, I'm sorry, yeah. Hold on. Okay. So what happens if a staff or student tests positive for COVID? First, I will notify our district lead nurse, who will then notify our local Department of Health. Most likely, staff and students will be dismissed for 2 to 5 days, depending upon the situation. This will allow time for DPH to gain a better understanding of the COVID situation impacting the school, and for custodial staff to clean and disinfect the affected areas. Students and staff in those affected classrooms will be required to self-isolate for 14 days, and a medical clearance will be required for return to school for everyone affected. I think that's it. That's it for me. Sarah?
All right, thank you, Lola. I do want to stop and see if any parents have any questions around the sick policy, especially as it relates to COVID.
Okay, let's see.
I see a good question about if a child has a fever and is found to have an ear infection, do they need to remain out for 14 days?
So that's where, like I said, we will be working collaboratively with your healthcare professionals. So if your child is found to have an ear infection, medical note stating that would suffice.
So the student would be allowed to come back as long as there's medical clearance.
Yes.
And I will just, another side note. So if there is a student or a staff that is sent home during the day for a temperature, it doesn't matter if it's if a temperature related to an ear infection or a temperature related to potential COVID, we're going to move all the students in that classroom to a secondary location and close that classroom down for sanitation. We don't want to risk what the fever is for, and so just out of precaution, we will relocate that classroom. I will notify the parents that we have done that and why, and then we're going to keep that classroom in isolation for 24 hours until we know exactly what's going on.
I see another question about the tuition policy. What is the tuition policy if school closes due to COVID?
We do have a slide on tuition, so we'll be getting to that.
Okay, great. And then I think we answered that one. And then someone asked, so the whole school would close for 2 to 5 days and direct classmates would be out for 14 days if someone was COVID positive. Is that about right, Lola?
So that's just a general, it's really going to be specific to the situation. If it's just one classroom and because we are working in cohorts and the other classrooms are not affected, then it may just be one classroom that would need to be shut down. But it's definitely going to be specific to the situation.
I have a question related to that. If there's a case in a classroom and there is a sibling, a child in that classroom who has a sibling in another class, how does that impact the other class?
I'm not understanding the question. You said if there's a student and you mean
so yeah, let's just say, for example, there's a case in a 3-year-old classroom and that 3-year-old has a sibling in the infant room, how would that impact the infant room?
And that's why I said it's on a case-by-case situation. So then it's going to affect anyone that's been exposed. So if there's a teacher or a student that's in that sibling's classroom that has been exposed, has a positive exposure, then essentially that student probably would have a positive exposure to their siblings. So we really have to go by a case-by-case situation in terms of how we close down the classroom and, if we go as far as closing down the whole school. And we're going to be guided by DPH.
So what you're saying, I guess, essentially is that this could potentially shut down multiple classrooms just due to siblings having
In that,
the household exposure.
within that specific situation, yes. If there are siblings, yes.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, and I think, Jenny, to that point, there's concern about community exposure. So what happens if a staff is exposed to someone that is tested positive within the community? Then yes, when the staff, if that person is positive in the community that they were hanging out with over the weekend, then that staff and those students also have to isolate because they have then been exposed. I do want to kind of give like a caveat that the district as a whole are creating district-wide policies around COVID sick procedures. And so they are actively working on those procedures, and those will also be shared and updated in our parent handbook. And so there'll be some additional clarification district-wide on some of these procedures that Lola just went over. There's a question about have there been any confirmed cases, and no, we have not had any confirmed cases since we've opened.
I had a question about the sick policy. The first bullet, sorry, this is Kimmy Pringle. The first bullet point, I think, was fever, cough is out for 72 hours. And then the second point says if they present with COVID-19 related symptoms. Sorry, you are on the right slide. Yes, this one. The cough, fever, all of those are COVID symptoms, fever, cough, and shortness of breath. So I guess how are you distinguishing the first bullet point from the second bullet point?
So we got this as guidance directly from CDC. And so that's why we chose to go with this with the 72 hours, because then we'd hope that the child would be seen by a physician and either cleared or diagnosed with something else, giving us time to figure out what's going on here, as opposed to just automatically assuming that this child has COVID and is now isolating for 14 days. Because as we know, this age group, they're going to have fevers, they're going to have strep, they're going to have ear infections, and every fever is not because of COVID. So that's why we put it in place like that. Does that, you understand?
Yes, I understand. So are you hoping that the child will have a negative COVID test within the 72 hours?
That's the plan, but as you know, there have been delays with COVID. That's why I said all of this is fluid, and we're doing the best that we can, to the best of our ability. But we can't,
thank you.
And keep everyone safe, really.
No, definitely. Thank you. I just didn't quite understand the implication between the two, but you clarified it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so a little bit about how we have updated the cleaning and sanitizing procedures in the building. So the district as a whole has reevaluated the cleaning agents that they've been using, and so everything that we get is from the district operation department, and it all is under the EPA guidelines of solutions and chemicals that fight the coronavirus. Sanitizing. So throughout the day, we've added custodial staff to our team, and throughout the day, we have custodial staff going around sanitizing high touch and frequently touched surfaces throughout the day. They are cleaning restrooms every hour. And then they are also able to sanitize the playground in between use. So when teachers are finished using the playground, they use their walkie-talkie and they radio to the custodian. The custodian comes out with a 360 Clorox system, and they're able to sanitize the playground in between each classroom. Additionally, every Friday, the operation department from the district comes in and uses a 360 system and disinfects the whole entire building. And so not only are they looking at classrooms, but they're looking at any kind of shared space. They're looking at offices. So they just do a deep cleaning every Friday on the building, in addition to the sanitizing that we're doing throughout the day. An updated air ventilation system. So with us being open, College Heights was the very first building to receive this. So the operations department has updated our system. This is just an informational slide about it, but if you have questions, you're always able to contact Sergio Perez, who's our new director of operations. But they have upgraded the purification system in College Heights. Also for the other buildings, they're working on doing that for all the other schools as well. And this is helping with the filtered air throughout the system. Parking lot safety. So I feel like the only complaint we ever get about College Heights is our parking lot issues. We have 342 children and 80 staff. So I don't think people realize how large College Heights is. We are actually bigger than all the K-2 schools except for Winona Park. We have a really small parking lot. And so we're just asking that parents are very mindful when they come and do arrival and dismissal, that they're not parking in the fire lane right outside the school, that they are being very mindful. They're driving slowly. They're using the crosswalks and sidewalks when coming from the parking lot. And that you're locking your car doors. We have had several break-ins where parents have just kind of thought they were running in, left their belongings in the cars. Make sure you're locking your car doors. We are not allowed to have dogs on campus. This is a district-wide policy. I think some principals implement it better than others. We implement it pretty well here. We have little kids who are very afraid of animals, especially big dogs. And so we're asking that you do not bring your dogs to the school property when you come and do arrival and dismissal. Okay, so tuition. So you have all signed a financial agreement when you registered. The tuition, so we are a year-round program. I think there's been some kind of confusion about summer months. We, at the 0 to 3 tuition paying program, is year-round. It's 12-month payment. You have signed up for 12 months. And so the calendar is on our school website, it's on the district website. You have access to see ahead of time what weeks we are closed due to holiday breaks within the districts, and so you can plan for that. The tuition, your year tuition's already been prorated and accounted for those weeks that were closed. And so within that financial agreement, you should have received a payment schedule. And so hopefully you all were able to save that for your reference. If you want a payment schedule and you forgot to save that when you turned your packet back in, Caritha, who is our administrative assistant who works at the front desk, can give you another payment schedule. But payments are due the 5th of every month. After the 7th, it's deemed late, and then you'll get a late fee attached to your tuition charge. We do really encourage parents, especially since we're not having parents coming in the building, to sign up for bank draft or credit card draft. And that way the district just automatically drafts your tuition on the 5th. If you're unable to do that and you want to do a parent check where you're dropping off a check, you can work that process out with Caritha and she can get the payment from you. We do have a system. So if you are continuously not paying or you're paying late, you'll receive a letter from me just kind of saying, okay, we need to go ahead and get a system into place. We might have to switch over where you're having to do a cashier check. We try to work with parents, especially during this time where we know that so many times people are having different financial situations due to different work situations. And so we're trying to work with parents. If a school is closed due to COVID, and so it's considered an unforeseen school closing, tuition right now is expected. And so the district and the school board has decided that unless the school is shut down for more than 30 days, parents are still obligated to pay tuition as scheduled. Okay, school to home communication. I feel like this is going to be a really, really important piece for the administrators here and the teachers here at College Heights. You know, it's going to be different. It's going to feel different because we're used to having parents in the building and dropping off and picking up and being able to see everyone face to face. And right now we're not going to have that time. And so I can assure you that Carla and I are really thinking through some intentional ways to be communicating to parents, and making sure that the teachers are over communicating to you what's going on in the classroom, sending pictures, sending videos. If you're in an infant, 1-year-old or 2-year-old classroom where your students working on pottying, you'll receive a daily report each day talking about, the pottying process and how the child napped and, things that you might need to bring in if you need to bring wipes or diapers in. And so you'll still get that in those classrooms. But I do want to just let you know that we're very cognizant of the fact that it's hard to have a school community when we're really limiting our face-to-face interactions. And so we will be looking at ways to really building and supporting our community among parents and staff and children during this time when we're in a phase 1 of our operations plan. I send home a school newsletter every 2 weeks. It's emailed to you through the Blackboard system. The teachers will be sending home a newsletter every week. They will be emailing that to you as well. And that classroom newsletter just kind of highlights what happened during the week, what some things you can work on at home. A lot of times they have pictures and celebrations in the newsletter. And then we have a PTO Facebook page. And so if you are on Facebook, you can go to the PTO page and they will have updates on events and just some fun things and highlights from the PTO. The Infinite Campus. And so every parent will receive an Infinite Campus parent portal. Cynthia Andrews, who is another administrative assistant here, is in the process of emailing those to parents. Now, for our 0 to 3 parent, there's not really a lot of time where you're going to need to log on to your parents' portal. This really is pre-K through 12. It's really when you use it the most. As a parent of kids in the district, I use it to check my child's attendance. I use it to check how often my 8th grader is late to class, which is a lot more times than I really knew about originally. I can check grades. So you really start utilizing the parent portal more when the child's older. For pre-K, because meals are not included in tuition, when your child matriculates into our pre-K program, you'll be able to add lunch money onto their nutrition account through Infinite Campus. So you will receive a parent portal, but I will just be honest, there's not a ton of reason why you would be using it at the 0 to 3 level, but you'll hang on to this information from as your child grows and gets older through the school district. You'll have more reason to be using it. We have a really great school website that has a parent portal part to the website where you can have different information on that parent website. Has resources, has links to other things. And so I just encourage you at some point to check out our school website. Our 2020-21 parent handbook is still in draft form. We are waiting for a lot of the procedures, especially around sick policies, to be to move into draft form to finalized form by the district. And then once that happens, I will update and upload our parent handbook. And I really encourage all the parents to get onto their website to look at the parent handbook. That will have all this information that we talked about today in more detail, as well as any other district updated policies and procedures around COVID. And then Carla and I will be having different opportunities throughout each month where we can connect virtually to parents. She mentioned a little bit earlier that we will be doing parent workshops around conscious discipline. Every month, we'll have a different topic and a different kind of foundational skill relevant to conscious discipline that we'll be talking about. Many of the times, we will have teachers helping us facilitate, and they'll talk about certain strategies that they're doing within the classroom with your children that you can do at home. And then we're also adding this year some virtual lunch and learns. And so each month we'll do a different topic. We're trying to do these from 11 to noon, hoping that people can use their lunch hour to log on to our virtual lunch and learn. And we'll have different topics. The very first topic we're going to start off with in August is kind of College Heights 101. And we'll talk a little bit just about the history of College Heights and why we're here and how we got here and kind of our plans for the year and our school improvement plan. So there will be different opportunities that you can log on to feel a little bit connected in this crazy time of COVID where we're not really able to interact as much as we'd like to. So I just encourage you to check on our school newsletter. All the information about parent engagement opportunities will be listed in the newsletter that I send home to parents. Okay, so a little bit about parent engagement opportunities. When I sent out an email last week about the reminder for the orientation, I talked a little bit about advisory council, and I am so pleased to say that we have filled all of our council openings. And so thank you to the parents who've stepped up to volunteer for that. Our advisory council is a council of parents that meet virtually each month. And they really are the sounding board for policies and procedures as it relates to operations of the school. Last year, we worked on some marketing policies. We worked on troubleshooting through pre-K drive-through challenges. I'm trying to think of, Carla, what else was some really important initiatives last year?
Well, we also talked about equity and some of the things that I'll get to later. But I think what is important to know is that our advisory council is really a sounding board. So say, for instance, the district has asked us to make a decision, or we have something we're thinking about doing, we'll bring it to the advisory council to get their input.
Yeah, and like Carla talked, we have initiatives each year. This year, we really are looking at ways for the council to have opportunities around conversations and education around equity. We do have a school-based equity team, and this year I'm really wanting to kind of marry the advisory council and the school-based equity team to really talk about some equity challenges and issues within the program. So we're really excited about that. And of course, we'll also be using our advisory council to talk about COVID-related policies and procedures and operating plans. Additional things that we talk about and discuss are budget considerations and hiring considerations. And so we will have, after we have our advisory council meetings each month, we will post the minutes on our school website. And so you're always able to access the information through the website on our meetings each month. PTO, as Yara talked about a little bit earlier, we do have coordinated social events and fundraising opportunities, and all of those will be communicated throughout the newsletter. We are definitely needing some parents to help support some of our functions, such as our readathon, which is one of our very first fundraising opportunities coming up in October. And so, you know, the time commitment's very minimal, but it's a really important part of supporting our school culture and climate is to have our PTO supporting what we're doing as a school. Each classroom will have a room parent, and the teacher will be seeking out volunteers for room parents during meet and greet in the first week of school. And the room parent really is just kind of the liaison between the other classroom parents and the classroom teacher. You know, in the past, the room parents help coordinate, you know, maybe social gatherings outside of the school. They help coordinate teacher birthdays. Just that liaison and that support for that teacher and those assistants in that classroom. We do have a gardening committee. We have a partnership with the Wild Center, which I think is now the Oakhurst Community Gardens. Every month they come and do community-based service with our teachers, and they do education with our students. And so we're really excited to have a partnership with them, but we are looking for a parent or a few parents to really help support the gardening process. So, you know, I know right now we need to get in and clean up the gardening beds, and so we'll need a team of people to help support that. We do have 2 teachers on staff that also help on the gardening committee, so you wouldn't be alone. We would help you support whatever work needs to be done with our staff here. But, you know, the gardening process and our partnership are really important to what we do here as an active part of our curriculum and instruction. We have, you know, as soon as the students are walking, they go out and visit our garden. The pre-K and preschool have different garden beds where they are responsible for planting and harvesting their own fruit and vegetables. We have a couple times throughout the year school-wide taste tests of the things that they have harvested from their garden beds. We have water barrels that the toddlers are responsible for. So it really is an active part of our instruction here in our program. So we really do need support from parents who are able to help us out with the gardening project. Right now, our media center will be closed, so that's considered a shared space with students. And so we're finding other ways to support the students in their classrooms with media center and literacy activities. So typically, we do have a media center specialist, a media specialist on staff. Her name's Karen Collins. And typically, she does large group engagement activities in the library for all the classrooms. Well, we're finding out alternative ways to still support that. And we do ask for volunteers to help Miss Karen reshelf books or to do different projects in the library. But as of right now, we will be tabling that need for volunteers until we're able to open up some more of our shared spaces. And then the last thing that we have for parent engagement opportunities are just classroom-based social events. We really encourage room parents to work with the other parents in the classroom to plan some events outside of the school where the children can get together. Again, in light of what's going on with COVID, we're taking lots of precautions around this, and this might be something that we'll have to wait till maybe later on in the year for classroom parents to be able to organize.
I just wanted to jump in and just really encourage all of you. If you're in our 0 to 3 program, you're with us for the long haul. So consider signing up to volunteer in one of these ways, whether it's advisory council or being on a committee for the PTO or really working in the garden. That's a great COVID activity to do. So just think about it. Volunteering your time is amazing. We know that you're paying tuition, but it's just a nice way to build a community. And, as you continue through our program, I just want to say, don't feel like you're too new to take on one of these roles. There is no special skill set required for any of them, and we welcome you to volunteer.
Okay, Carla, you want to talk about our equity work?
Yes, thank you. So something I'm so excited about, I don't know how much you've been following CSD and the equity work we've been doing over the last few years, and certainly our recent recommitment and partnering with Beacon Hill to really focus on racial equity in our schools and in what's happening with children as they get older. I think it starts at College Heights. It starts when they're young. And so we really have just an amazing team that we've assembled of staff in our school who work on learning about equity and learning about how we can apply this in the early childhood setting. And so I'm excited because we've really moved from the learning phase into the action phase. Our team really wants to get going and start putting some things into practice. We did a lot of talking and a lot of thinking. We've done work with microaggressions and implicit bias, and a lot of work using courageous conversations. I don't know if you know, but all of the CSD employees were trained in courageous conversations, and it's really an amazing way for educators to talk about race in schools. And so some of the things that we've done last year, we did have some amazing training with the Anti-Defamation League. They came and worked with our teachers talking about school culture and equity. We've also read lots and lots about how equity works in schools. And recently we've gotten a grant it's called the Sibley Grant, that's going to help us support our English language learners. And we are partnering with the Decatur Housing Authority to do family literacy outreach. In addition to just like our regular partnership with Head Start, we've started to do even more with parent education and family literacy practices. And so those are some of the things that we've done last year. And then and as we move forward into the new school year, what we really want to do is have a parent council on equity, diversity, and inclusion. So instead of just having our school-based equity team, really encouraging maybe advisory council members or anyone who's interested in doing this tough work, but very important work around race and equity to join us as we think about ways that we can, as a school, improve in the way that we handle racial issues in our school and with our staff and with our students. And we will continue to partner with the Housing Authority and use our school-based equity team for professional learning opportunities. One of the things I'm proudest of last year is that our school-based equity team, after all the learning that we did together, then we had staff members re-deliver and teach other people who weren't on the equity team about some of the things like about implicit bias and about microaggressions. And so that was an amazing kind of turn that took place in the school year last year. So we're excited to grow that team, and we're excited to move forward with some of the literacy grant money that we've procured as we just go forward into next year. And I know it'll all look different because we're virtual, but I think this work must happen and will happen no matter what format it takes. So I invite you, if you want to reach out to me or anyone else, any administrator or your teacher, if you're interested in joining us in this kind of work. The next slide right here is really just additional resources. I'm going to be doing some professional learning with teachers about, how they're going to talk to children about COVID, about how to talk to kids about social distancing and wearing masks, and how they can, identify any feelings of anxiety or stress they might be having and work through them. And so these are just some nice resources for you. Since we'll be sharing this slideshow with you, you'll be able to look at those at your leisure. There are just a few. There's a nice social story about how wearing a mask. And so that's helpful. Children often respond when they hear about something in a story. So, consider reading your child stories about wearing masks to stay safe. And then, as Sarah mentioned before, our College Heights website has lots of information on it. So make sure to check that out. If you have a question about anything, really, it will be there. And I think Sarah, is that about it? And then do you want to open it up to questions?
I think the last slide. So we are going to be doing an in-person meet and greet. I believe the decision for pre-K through 12 was that they will do it virtually. I really just feel like with our younger kids, we've got to be able to have an opportunity for the children to come in and see the classroom and the teachers. And so we are going to be doing meet and greet on Friday, July 31st. I will get details to the parents. We're going to be staggering the meet and greet times and classrooms so that we're not all coming at the same time. So I will, as soon as we get this day planned, we'll be sending information out as soon as we have it planned to parents, but we will be having an opportunity to meet everyone in person. Okay, so yes, do you want to go back, Carla, and go back through the chat to see we've answered all the questions there?
Yes, let's do that.
So I think about the substitutes. And so, we're in a fortunate situation here at College Heights where we have a large group of part-time staff and after-school staff. And so typically their hours are 2:30 to 6. And so we are able to pull from those people to work as substitutes during the day if we need them. And so we are really trying to keep any substitutes that we need in-house. We have not been using any outside substitutes since we've been open June 15th. We've been just pulling from people that have already been trained. We did a lot of professional learning before we reopened around safety and health concerns and procedures. And all these after-school staff and part-time staff have been trained in what we're doing here. So right now we're just utilizing that group of people for substitutes. We also have a few floaters already staffed for full-time floaters. And so we're able to also utilize those staff members whose only job is just to float and to cover in case a staff member calls in sick.
Okay. There's a couple of questions. What if we have to close for more than 30 days.
So this is going to be, I think there's different things. So with regards to instruction, then we will move into a virtual learning platform that Carla talked a little bit earlier in our presentation. We will be sharing our plans for virtual learning and what that will look like once we develop them. We will share them with our 0 to 3 parents so that you know what to expect, because we want to be prepared. You know, when we had to shut down in March, it was kind of, okay, we're shutting down, let's do some learning. We want to be prepared for this. It might happen. So we want to be prepared. So we are coordinating a plan, and we will share that with parents of what the instruction looks like. With regards to tuition, that's going to be all determined by the school board and the superintendent. I can just speak from experience. When we were shut down over the summer, we were shut down for about 6 weeks, 6 to 7 weeks with our 0 to 3 program. Tuition was prorated, and you also had an opportunity as a parent to apply for a financial hardship. And so I don't know for certain if those will be options, but that will be decided upon by the actual school board.
Okay, a couple of people did not get the email about advisory council.
So there wasn't a separate email. It came, so I sent a newsletter type of email out as an attachment last week, and there was a paragraph on there about advisory council. So if you did not receive the College Heights connection that I sent out July 8th, please just email me so I can make sure that we have your correct email on file.
Okay, and then we will share this presentation. Someone asked about sharing the lunch and learns and sharing this presentation. I was actually going to ask you, Sarah, are we putting them on the website or are we emailing them out?
They'll be shared on the website. So you will log on to the College Heights website. For the lunch and learn and for our conscious discipline, we'll have separate kind of folders that we will place those in, because we're having multiple sessions of those. With regards to this orientation presentation, it will be on the home page. It will probably be uploaded by Friday.
Okay. And then I think there was one more. Okay, so if your plans have changed or your feelings have changed, can you disenroll? Or what if after a few months you become uncomfortable?
Yeah, yes, you can disenroll at any time, and we know that things will change and that emotions can change and your sense of security is going to change. And we understand that, both Carla and I and Lola, we're all parents. So we understand we have similar concerns with our children. So absolutely, you're not financially committed. We do have a 2-week disenrollment policy. So if you are deciding to disenroll, you had to give us a 2-week notification, and that allows us a chance to go ahead and fill that spot. But we understand that, things are going to change and people's comfort level may change, and that's okay. We've always said that any decision you make for your family is the right decision for you. And so any chance, and I encourage you, I have an open door policy, not necessarily open door right now to everyone, but open, you can always call me or email me, and if you're ever concerned, or if there's concern in the classroom, we ask you to first talk to the teacher about it, because we want the teacher to have an opportunity to address any concerns first. And then if you feel like the concern's not being met, then please follow up with Carla or me. We really are here. We very much value what the parents bring to our education here and our mission, and we really pride ourselves on building a close-knit school family, and parents are a very important part of that. So I just encourage you, before you decide to disenroll, just to reach out to us, because there might be something that we can help you with, and to maybe look at if you're having some concerns.
I think that just about covered the questions that I saw in the chat, but you're welcome to ask. And of course, if you have a question you'd rather ask separately, then you can just email us. Someone popped in a question of how big are the class cohorts. It depends on the class. So our preschool classes will divide in half. So we're trying to really keep things like right at about 10. But if it's a smaller class, like our infant class that has 8, then we would do 4 and 4. Does that answer your question?
Hi, can I ask a question? Can you hear me?
Please.
Hi. Yeah, thank you very much for very thorough orientation presentation, very thorough, very helpful cover writing at different topics. Thank you very much. I have two questions, one related to COVID, one just general admin question. So for COVID, we know, although that's uncommon, some COVID-19 cases may not have fever or other upper respiratory symptoms, rather they may have diarrhea or conjunctivitis. So currently right now, so we're just screening for temperature or other upper respiratory symptoms. How about other GI symptoms? Will those will be included as well as a screening procedure?
So, hi there, this is Nurse Lola. So that actually, diarrhea is a part of our wellness checks in the morning. We do ask the parents if their child has developed any of those symptoms, and it does include GI symptoms, because we understand that in this age group, you know, these children are affected in that way from COVID.
All right, so those kids, although without fever, if they have GI symptoms, will be like
yeah, we do ask that question.
Okay. All right. Okay, great. That's good to know. And the element question, the school to parents communication. Is there any app? I'm new to College Heights. Is there any app available for parents to communicate with teachers just by email or text message? Is there any app can be installed on mobile device for more effective way?
Great question. So I think one of the things that CSD is working on really is trying to have a little more continuity and consistency with how we communicate with parents. Right now at College Heights, it is class dependent. We do let the teacher choose, does she or he want to use Shutterfly? Some people use Blooms. Some people use email. Some people use Remind. So we're actually right now working on trying to just find just one app to make it a little bit easier on parents. So right now we're working towards that, but definitely email for sure. That will be your first line of communication, especially since we're having limited face-to-face. But you can also feel free to talk with the person very briefly, because if you're doing a drop-off or pickup, if there's just a quick issue you want to tell them about at drop-off with the person from your class. However, really we'll be focusing in on an app, and we'll share that with you when school begins.
Okay, but that's the future plan would be considered.
Yes, yeah, they all do something a little bit different. Some of the teachers love Google Photos and some love Shutterfly. And so we kind of have let them use what they're most comfortable with, but we're trying to get everyone to use the same thing.
Okay, good. So the last thing, one more is about mask. I know you just mentioned for the age 2 and above, it's recommended to have a mask. So for preschool, like 3 years old, is that mandatory? I know it can become practical with the practicing. I just want to know if it's mandatory. I prepare my daughter to wear mask at home before school. So what's the policy right now for mask for little ones?
Lola, do you want to answer that?
Yes. So we're following the CDC recommendations. And we're happy to, like I said earlier, support any parent that wishes for their child to wear a mask. The only times that the child would not be wearing a mask would be during nap time and during outdoor play time. So if you want your child to wear a mask, you should communicate that to the teacher, and we're happy to carry out your wishes.
So yeah, that's my question. It's up to parents, or is school's policy to mandatory for every kid?
Currently, we're not mandating that the young ones wear masks, but as things change, as Sarah said earlier, we will be following what the district guidelines are as we reopen fully.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I just want to address Alicia's question before we log off. So yes, regardless of what pre-K through 12 does, the College Heights tuition paying program will still be open. That's why we're looking at opening up in these different phases. So we do realize there's concern in the community from parents and from staff around COVID and the increase. So that's why we are really buckling down on these mitigation strategies and we're really limiting access and interaction between adult. So we will be open, but as I said at the beginning of the show, if we have to temporarily shut down due to positive COVID case, we would be working with the health department, but that shutdown would be temporary. So we're looking at potentially the health department may shut you down, programs shut down anywhere between 2 to 5 days. But we will be opening up on August 4th, regardless of whether or not the pre-K and 12 program, what model they're doing. It's a little bit different here because it is tuition paying. We are an early learning center. We take things very seriously here with our, the way we are teaching and educating children. But at the end of the day, we're still here to provide a service for parents. And so we will still continue to be open.
And I just want to piggyback on what Sarah was saying that, ultimately, we are here for the children, and we're trying our very best to keep them safe and to help them learn and grow and be connected with friends and their teachers and to have relationships. And so I just hope that you understand that even though we've spent a lot of time talking about safety and health, and it is crucial, there is a lot of love and happiness that will be happening in the day as well. So we're not, we are going to be having lots of fun and growing and learning and playing together. So I hate that we had to spend so much time focusing on COVID, even though really there's so much more to what we're doing in our building. And we just welcome you and we welcome your children, and we can't wait to get to know them and to get to know all of our new school family members. So just welcome, and we look forward to it.
Are there any other last questions before we sign off? I thank you all for joining us. If you have a neighbor or a friend who was unable to join, the presentation has been recorded and will be uploaded by Friday. Next steps, and so you will receive a communication from me talking a little bit about meet and greet and how we're going to be organizing that. You can go ahead and make plans for August 4th. We will be opening up, we will open up at 7 and close at 3:30. We will be in phase 1, and so just refer back to the arrival and dismissal expectations on that. And then in the meet and greet, you will get classroom specific information. So at that time, you will find out what you need to bring for your child for that day. You will get some forms that you need to fill out to get started. So anything classroom specific will happen on that meet and greet time. Additionally, if you're in Miss Fail's preschool class, you will get a separate communication from me introducing who that teacher is going to be with that Chex Mix process. And so you will get something separate from me as well. Okay, folks, thank you so much for allowing us to give this presentation and tell you a little bit about College Heights. And we're so excited to meet you and your children. It's going to be a great year, and we really appreciate you taking the time this evening. And feel free to email Carla or me or Lola if you have any questions that might come up in the future before we see you at meet and greet.
Thank you.
Thank you.